The year is 2015. People can't get enough of those rapping forefathers. Tom Brady's a cheater, and the biggest concern gripping the American public is the color of a dress. And oh yeah, Taco Bell is in its heyday of delicious, cheap menu items. Crunchwrap sliders, the grilled stuffed nacho, and the best, Daredevil loaded grillers. Close your eyes with me for a second and imagine it. Grilled burritos, $1. Red strips, ooh, they taste red, delicious. Taco Bell beef, cheese, all grilled, all cheap, and insanely good. I've written Father Taco Bell himself and requested that they bring back the Daredevil loaded grillers. Hello? Is this for me? Okay. Huh, that was weird. It's really sweet of them, honestly, to write back. I didn't really expect it. It says, Cameron, the bell is well. How are you? Oh, I'm good. Regarding your inquiry, we are never bringing back the Daredevil loaded grillers. Godspeed, see you this weekend. Well, at least they know me. I guess if they won't bring them back, I'll do it myself. They had a mild chipotle, a hot habanero, and a fiery ghost pepper. They were all delicious, so we're making all three.
Taco Bell and I have had some beef in the past, as they make a habit out of removing amazing menu items. Daredevil loaded grillers, of course, were one of my all-time favorites. I got a Chipotle and habanero one every time I went to Taco Bell in 2015. The ghost pepper one was good, but I didn't always love the pain it brought me after. Eating a Daredevil loaded griller to me feels exactly like the moment in Ratatouille when the critic takes a bite out of Remy's dish and is instantly transported back to the French countryside, except here I'm taken back to a dirty but glorious Taco Bell in Denton, Texas. Close enough, right? To make the Daredevil loaded grillers at home, I knew I needed to crack the code on Taco Bell's 3 different griller sauces, each with varying different degrees of spice. In addition to that, we obviously need the unbeatable liquidy Taco Bell meat, a quick cheese sauce for maximum moisture, a red strip stand-in, and the classic grated cheese that tastes like the color yellow. In researching the old menu, I found that the first 2 sauces, Chipotle and Habanero, were made with a mayo/sour cream base, and after doing a few rounds of taste testing, I think my final sauce recipes are spot on. That's where we'll start this dish first. I'll teach you how to make all 3 since everyone has different preferences, but my recommendation would be to pick a favorite and just make one of the sauces. Each of these recipes makes enough for a handful of loaded grillers, and you likely won't need that much sauce. Up first is making the Chipotle sauce, the mildest of the 3. Measure out a 1/4 cup of mayo, a 1/4 cup of sour cream, a pinch of salt, and a splash of milk. Add 1 clove of garlic along with 1 seeded jalapeno. Chipotles are, after all, smoked jalapenos, so they go well together. I like a little onion powder and garlic powder in this as well. For the chipotles themselves, I find that around a tablespoon of chipotles in adobo does a good job matching the smoky flavor that these used to have. I like to add a touch of smoked paprika for a little bit of color, and then I give this all a blend until completely smooth. Once done, store this in the fridge until later because the pepper flavor will get stronger as it sits. Mild is done, now on to the hotter ones. Next up is the habanero sauce, which gets the same mayo, sour cream, and milk base as chipotle. To that base, add 2 seeded habaneros along with the side of an orange bell pepper. This is there to give a little more pepper flavor while still tasting like something Taco Bell would put out. Add your salt, garlic powder, onion powder, along with a clove of garlic. Blend that again until smooth and let that sit in the fridge along with the chipotle sauce. Hot is done, now let's make the hottest of the 3. The ghost pepper sauce is, ironically, actually the easiest. Everything I saw in my research confirmed that Taco Bell used a ghost pepper hot sauce mixed with mayo for creaminess. I grabbed this brand of sauce and mixed it with equal parts Kewpie mayo. Although it is made less spicy with the mayo, this one was still hot enough to mess with my stomach the next day. Do with that information what you will. Those little crunchy red strips Taco Bell uses are literally just red tortilla chips, so I'm going to toss some crunched up tortilla chips with a little smoked paprika and cayenne. These are there to add a little bit of flavor to the loaded grillers, but they're really just here for the crunch factor, so grab an extra crunchy chip. If we want these to have the same flavor as the original, these are a must. Now that the sauces are resting and your chips are decently red, it's time to get into the meat of the recipe. To accurately replicate the OG loaded grillers, we need to whip up a batch of that good old-fashioned wet meat. I'm going to make a seasoning mix for the meat, starting with half a teaspoon of white sugar and 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. Add 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, a pinch of cayenne, and 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. Lastly, we need a few cracks of pepper along with half a teaspoon of chicken powder. I used this a few years ago in my potato taco video if you want to check that out, but basically it's just got MSG in it and it's really nice. Josh from Mythical Kitchen has a really solid Taco Bell meat recipe, so I'm using some tips from that. specifically the use of cocoa powder in the meat to bring a deep brown color along with a specific Taco Bell meat smell. Once you notice it, it's kinda hard to leave out. We also need a thickener, and I'm opting for cornstarch because it's easy and you probably already have it in your kitchen. Add your beef to a super hot skillet without any oil. This is 80-20 ground beef, which is my preference for anything greasy like this, so we definitely don't need any extra fat in the pan. Break that up and then add your spice mix. Continue cooking over medium-high and then add your half teaspoon of cocoa powder. I didn't do that right away as it could burn in the pan. With the meat mostly cooked, empty it out into a food processor and get ready to pulse a few times. Taco Bell's meat has a distinct texture that can't be achieved without this step. If you ever see a copycat recipe without it, they are lying to you. Don't turn this into a paste though, that'd take the texture too far in the wrong direction. Look for about this texture right here. Once processed down, add it back to the pan. This is the chance to get a nice little brown color on the meat if you want, which is optional, but always nice. Add half a cup of water to start and then adjust as needed. We need it liquidy, but we're gonna add cornstarch, so be aware. Mix 1 tablespoon of cornstarch with 2 tablespoons of cold water and then add half of that to the pan. Start there and just see how thick it gets. You need to bring this up to a boil to really see the thickening power take hold. You've probably eaten Taco Bell before, so use your judgment here for texture. If you think of it as like a really thick chili, you'll be golden. Taco Bell gets their meat from a bag, so the bar here isn't really that high to clear. Tell you what though, this stuff tastes like the real thing, but much better. There's a really good chance this will be my new white people taco night go-to. I hate to say it, but Taco Bell uses the blandest queso in the world to bring some moisture to their burritos, and I kinda love it. It's not there for flavor, it's just there to make sure the food doesn't get dry, similar to mayo on a sandwich. To replicate that concept, mix around 3 parts of American cheese to 2 parts water. In this case, about 60 grams of cheese to 40 mils of water. This is not at all an exact science, just make sure that the sauce is a little bit more watery than you think it should be. The American cheese has enough emulsifying salt to make this form a skin quickly if there's too much cheese in it. For a little flavor, add a sprinkle of cumin and garlic powder. Let that melt over medium-low heat and keep it warm while we heat our tortillas. It's pretty surprising how delicious a sauce made from just American cheese and water can be. Shred some medium cheese on the tiny side of a box grater to give us that long strand look of Taco Bell cheese. I've made enough tortillas on my channel at this point, so I just went with these large store-bought ones. Heat them in a pan until they're pliable, and we can begin putting together our loaded grillers. All of the meat, around over a pound of it, will make about 6 loaded grillers if you use 2 spoonfuls of meat on each one. Drizzle on some of that liquid gold queso, top it with shredded cheese, the red strips stand-in, in whichever sauce you prefer. The griller portion of the item means that these need to be crisped up in a pan over medium heat. In making this video, I learned that Taco Bell will give you the wrapper if you ask really nicely, and the person working the drive-thru is very kind. Wrap them bad boys up and get ready to enjoy an item that no one's been able to get their hands on for almost 10 years now. It really feels like cracking open a time capsule. These are everything a Taco Bell item should be. Meaty, slightly greasy, and a little crunchy. The Chipotle one is smoky and well seasoned, but I wouldn't really call it spicy. The Habanero one starts getting hot without being completely unmanageable. This is the one that I love and the one that I ordered the most of back in 2015. This ghost pepper sauce is much hotter than what Taco Bell was using, and it was enough to make me sweat pretty quickly. It makes sense that Taco Bell wouldn't make something that's crazy hot, but I do remember it being spicier than most fast food items at the time. Suck it, Taco Bell. Anything you can do, I can do better. Keep removing beloved items, and I'll keep bringing them back from the dead. I'm like a fast food necromancer. Resurrecting this classic recipe was so much fun, and if you're also a fan of the Daredevil loaded griller, I hope making this brings you the same amount of joy it did me. If you thought this recipe looked good, check out my recent video about the best buffalo wings you can make at home, where I share several tips on how to maximize flavor. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to watch more delicious content, and check me out on Patreon if you want to directly support me. I'm always honored when new people jump on board. Cheers.